Now, this is my finished piece, and I want you to look at the background here. And I've used like a purpley, because it's maybe close to dusk, and some green. And you can kind of a little bit see some of the white canvas showing through. It's all fine, it's whatever you want, but it should be kind of muted, dusty looking, hazy looking. And remember, we only need to fill this area, but I do suggest you kind of go all the way up to the top and bottom and over to the sides so that you don't have any white area unpainted that will show through when you put the piece together. Here's where I played with a lot of my paints to see what colors did I like and not like. And you can see some of the, like chestnut browns, etc. Like they're fine if you want a dark look, but I didn't want that. Even this brown here, I did really have to wash that one out to get a really, really light brown. But you can see how I did some variations on greens. This blue kind of turned out really nice if I wanted something like that light part there. And this is the same orange, right? It's just this didn't have as much water as this one. And I made sure I really dry brushed it. And here's where we're showing, I wanted to show this, where you can see it overlapping and how it looks. When you look at pictures of skies and the different colors in the skies in the background, they all blend, and so you've got to kind of do a little bit of that as well so you don't have white in between. You can see here and here where I kind of did two different greens, and if you want something to be more intense, paint on it again. It's just start lighter and end up darker. On your canvas, you can't go the other way. You can't be dark and go light. You have to go light and go dark. You can see here too where I have the blue and then I put the green over it. That kind of looks nice. So you really just have to play. Here I did some brown, like really light over top of the green, and that looks pretty awesome as well. Playing is what you need to do to figure out what do you like and what do you not like, and then replicate it on your final piece. Here I've set up my painting supplies, and I have a little palette where I can make some different concoctions so I can have different intensities. And over here I've got another little dish. See, I've just used a sealer, and I've put in the colors that I want to use, which I'm going to use some yellows and greens because I'm going to do like a summer background look. I have here my water, just a little, very little bit of water, and I have an eyedropper. I've got my paper towel, my brush, and a little scrap so I can try some things on. This is a very, very little scrap. I'd normally use something bigger, but just so we can get it all in the picture. Now, if we want to make our paint lighter and we don't have lighter paint, one, it can be more water, but we can also put in a little drop of white. So you can see I've used very, very little here. You don't need a lot. So I'm going to add a little bit of water. A little bit of water there. A little bit of water there. And a little bit of water there. Just one or two drops. And you're going to want quite a few paper towels, and you're going to also want water to clean your brush, because when you want to change, you want it to be clean. We will do some blending, but you will want it to be clean. So we're going to mix up our paint, mix everything up. If we decide it needs to be a little bit lighter, I can add another drop of water because I want my yellow to be very, very, very light. And we're going to then use kind of like the stencil technique where we're going to use dry brush. So I'm going to take a lot of it off. Now let's see how this looks. Now, if I decide it's a bit too much, you're also going to want to have a paper towel, another paper towel, to dab it off. So see how it looked quite darker and more intense, but when I dabbed it off, it's now become quite light. And I kind of like that. That looks pretty good for my yellow. I just want a hint of yellow in it. I want it mostly to look like sunshine rays. Now I've been playing around a bit and adding more white and more water, and you can see this was the yellow that I originally started with, but I've moved to a much paler yellow, and you can see this was my most intense and then kind of a middle. It's hard to see in the colors, but it does graduate down, and this is my lightest, and I'm kind of liking that yellow because I want it to be more of a hint of yellow than real intense yellow. And you'll notice I've also done the green. So this has a lot more water in it. That one not as much. There's my light green and there's my more intense green. And I'm kind of liking that setup. Now, the other thing that I suggest you do is maybe you want to wing it, but maybe you want to have a plan for your painting. So I kind of took a piece of paper and just really quickly sketched out where was my light source coming from, and you don't always have to do a light source. I didn't in my first trees, but in this one I want there to kind of be a light source. So I've got my yellow coming in, and then I've kind of got lighter and a little bit maybe medium and a bit darker green. Closer to the ground. This will be closer to the sky. This will be closer to the ground. This is just to give me an idea of what's my plan when I go to paint. And I'm going to start with my yellow first, and then I'm going to add in my green. And of course you can graduate, and we'll see how that looks. Okay, so I'm ready now to put on my first color. And remember, we're not painting right on. We got to constantly be dabbing it on here. And now we're going to quickly put it on, but have your paper towel that you can brush it off, because we're not trying to seal up everything. It's to look very muted and not bright. So I'm looking at I'm looking at my pattern, and I want things to come in kind of on an angle, and I'm going to quickly, constantly be dabbing it. See how that looks? Oh, that looks great. That looks really, really, really super, super light. I'm going to move this off to the side because I don't want to forget and paint right on my canvas. I want to keep dabbing it on my paper towel. And then I want to be able to brush it back on. And now that looks pretty good. Still want to though dab it, take it off. It's a little bit of a process. And if you decide you want it darker, you can, add more of your paint in and just keep trying, but really use that sample piece as a true trial. Now that one that's so dry, I don't even need to dab it off. So that looks really good. And there's my sunshine kind of coming through. So now, I think just a little bit more on my yellow. I want to make sure that kind of gets all the way over. I like that. And then now I'm going to move on to my green. And here is my finished canvas background piece, all painted, and I'm just going to let it dry now. It almost even looks dry, but I'll let it dry now. And you can see I went basically all the way to all the edges, but you're only going to see about this much, right? About 4 inches of the amount is going to be seen. So I think that turned out pretty good, and it's just background. It doesn't have to be perfect.